Hey, welcome to more Random Thoughts in Random Places. Now, today's topic is, again, emotional one. Many of you out there, sadly, would have experienced this, and that would be the absence of a father in your life. So we're looking at the importance of what it means to have a father in a daughter's life. One of the things that struck me, because a common thing that we know is when a young girl hasn't been given advice by her father, when she's not taught all the things that a man is about and what to expect and how to bond and connect with a man and how it makes you understand how to be a woman with strength, yes, however, feminine strength, yeah? So you don't have to use so much masculine strength, because one of the things I find with not being brought up with a father is a woman will use her male strength to get her through. That's what we find we have to suddenly go into. My female strength isn't enough, and this is the beauty that I like, because men have the female hormone in them just a little bit, so it gives them that completeness, and the women, we have a little bit of masculine strength, but we don't want to be on that 24/7. But the absence of a man in a daughter's life, and including not being in her mother's life, what you have here is two females on one, definitely, most likely, being in her masculine strength to be able to cope. And then now, subliminally, subconsciously, that is going in to the daughter, because the man is absent. So the strengths that he would have brought, we now have to compensate for. Now this can backfire, because this is what leads to kind of what we have now, where we've got the younger generations who are right in the midst now. It's their world, their time, and it's this, I don't need a man, and I don't want this, and I don't need that, and these very negative psychodynamic thought patterns that the girls are carrying, and the psychodynamic negative thought patterns that the guys are carrying, is what's just making you more apart. The idea for men and women to really become the individualness that each one gives, and the way we can complement one another, is to allow us to be the very being that we are. We don't want to reverse roles too much. We take a little bit of what each other needs, and then we do it that way. You've heard of the phrase, oh, you could do with a little bit of this, and I could do with a little bit of that. And then you mix and match. Without that, the balance, it weighs off, and you never know which way it might go. You see, it could mean that without the presence of a man, the father, both mother and daughter could become vulnerable, weaker, just act like, oh no, we can't do anything without him, oh no, that wouldn't be good. Now, we don't want that, because you can survive without each other. But the wonderful thing is, why would you want it? You know? So the thing is that we don't want to be equal, as in anything a man can do, I can do to the level that he can, and anything a woman can do, the man can be saying he can do it at the same level. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? Oh, I can do what you're doing. You're not meant to. You're not meant to. Hence why you being the father and a man is important. That's why we miss it, because you are individually bringing something that we cannot. There's only so much a mother can say to a son. I can give all of the same advice that a father would, but here's the problem. It goes in, but it's not as it would be when that son hears it from his father. They have that man-to-man talk. They go off for a walk, or they do what they're doing, and then they have that moment. That is priceless. Father-son moment. mother-daughter moment. But then, this is why I tell you, both the idea of trying to not be a more beautiful version of yourself and trying to just be the opposite sex defies everything. Because now you can't give your child the best of both because you're both trying to be the same. Or you're trying to do a worse version of what the mum can do and vice versa. Because as a woman, how could you possibly do it as good as the man will do it when he's having that essential moment, when he's going to have that one-to-one talk with his son. And he's going to say to his son, this is it now. Especially when you're looking for that lady that's going to be in your life, because we all know that men don't fuck about. When it's something that they really want and it's the woman that they want, they will do what they need to do to get her, to show her. They don't mess about with the emotions. They don't do all the talking. They get right to it. That's why you know when a man's on it. With the women, we will discuss it. We will get emotional. We will do all sorts of different things and maybe play about with the emotions to see, oh, does he really like me, or whatever it is that we do. We might and ah a bit when we're looking for a mate. But men, when they know, they know. So when you've got a good father, a strong man in your world and in his, let's say his son's world, he is going to be telling his son all the right things. Especially when you want that classy lady that you speak of, that one that you can take home to your mother, so to speak, that phrase that you have. Yeah, that. A decent man is going to want his son to roll correctly. And he's going to want him to have a good woman in his life because he wants the best for him. That's important. This is why a man in a daughter's world is equally important, because he is going to tell her what she needs to look for. All the signs that that good father will be telling his son how he would need to be able to have that lady, is what the father will be telling the daughter. This is what you've got to look out for. He will be like this, and he will be like that. He will value his parents, check his background, and as in when you're with him, watch how he is, observe how he is with his family. Because we all know one of the big red flags is a man that doesn't know how to treat his mother will treat you probably worse, if not the same, but worse. It will never be better, because the most important woman in his world, he doesn't respect or love or care for, right? So what do you do with that? You see, the importance of a man being a father in a little girl's world shows her just the final little tweaks that you make after mum's told you everything to be as a woman. Your dad teaches you how to be a woman when you are around men. Because obviously, if you want to attract the decent, high quality man, the man that has his values all in the right place, it's not about the money. He's simply a man that works hard, puts his heart into what he does things out of love, not for love, and he's a keeper. That's what your dad will want you to have, and he will show you those signs so you will know, there's the comparison. My dad said that. And your dad, if he is a wonderful, wonderful man, you will subliminally and subconsciously take in all of those qualities. And that's when you'll get a quality man that will be able to gravitate towards you, because he will smell you. He will smell the quality oozing off you. And he would be right, because you were lucky enough to have a father that loved you, loved your mum, whether they're together or not. Doesn't need to be. It's just that mutual respect that they have brought a life into the world, and now we both need to make sure we give her the best chance possible. And that's the importance of having a father, because a female alone or just a father alone cannot do all of that. We do well, but it was never going to be what it could have been. This is why it's so important that you can manage your relationship with your partner, especially if you're not with them, that you can have that decorum and that grace to put yourself second and know that it's how you are in the company of your children if you're two parents that are not together. Because when we put ourselves first, which adults kind of do a lot, because kids, we're still vulnerable, we don't really have a voice or a leg to stand on yet, you've just got to do as your parents say, and they will be sometimes letting their ego get the better of them and putting themselves first and arguing about their mistakes and tit for tat and all of that. And while that's unfolding, the child suffers. And especially if they're seeing two parents that can't get along and don't want to find reason or meet in the middle, the idea that you can compromise, all of that is going into those children and they're seeing it all. So it's essential that we act a certain way round our children. Now, again, we know that the importance of having a father in a young girl's world is that she will make better choices, because one of the toxic things, one of the really problematic, awkward things that happens is some women, we don't choose wisely. And why is that? Because again, there was probably no father in your childhood. So we make all the wrong choices when we're trying to now be, we want to be noticed now, to try and attract a mate. And you're going to engage and talk with the opposite sex and get to know them. She doesn't have any guidance, and there was no one around. She's only got what her mother says. And then again, and here you've got to hope that the mother can be neutral. She knows it's been rough. However, she's able to distinguish that he might be a rubbish husband, but he's a good father. So therefore, like with men, you compartmentalize, which is a brilliant thing, because women get too emotional in the wrong fucking times. That right there is not a time to get emotional and all up in your feelings. What you have to say is, it went wrong between us, but he's a man that wants to be in my child's life, and it's my daughter. And so this is where women need to be coming off that high horse and that ego and make the right choice by your daughter, not by your feelings of how you feel because you're a bit bitter that it didn't work out. That's okay. Relationships come and go, but your children are forever. And you can have the choices. You can have control of how you deal with that and how you bring them up. You might have a different way that you speak to your adults that you're colluding with or having a problem with, but you have a different feeling about you when you're in front of your children. Okay? You don't act how you would act in front of the adults. They don't need to know all of that negative shit. What we're trying to do is for them to avoid that, but there'll be times in their life when they grow up, well, they'll have trials and tribulations and they'll learn it. Our job is to best prepare them, okay? And to make sure that when things do go wrong, that they act right, that we don't get all up in our feelings and get angry and bitter, and that's what takes over the parenting. And then rather than set up our children to make sure that we give them the best possible chance not to make the mistakes that we did by sharing the experiences we've had, telling them about our mistakes, being completely open, honest and truthful. A lot of clarity is needed, so we need to be honest with our children where we went wrong. And we need to be just fair and stop saying, oh yeah, you didn't need a dad anyway, we're good on our own. That's denying your child. Because yes, you might be good on your own, but it's better with him in it, doing his part. There's no two buts about it. You cannot say that unless he's a really bad influence and you just know, not good for you, not good for your daughter, cool. But when it's a guy that just literally didn't get along with you, but he does with his daughter, that relationship is independent of you. You no longer have that right to interfere as a female. And we have to talk about this, because that there, in that pinnacle moment when you've been angry and you've had that split up and you decide to act on your emotions, right then in that moment, that's that little prick that goes right into that balloon, bursts that bubble of something that could be wonderful. At least there's something good to come out of your relationship or the time that you had together, is a beautiful being who's now here and needs both mummy and daddy. And that is your duty. That's your absolute duty, and you must put that above yourself. We see what happens. We've heard the devastating stories of what happens when you are parents that put yourself first. Cannot do that. And one of the reasons why we have this problem with absent fathers is sometimes the woman has been the one to push him out because it suits her to do so. Because again, she's up in her feelings, and it's that there that does have an effect, also a detrimental effect also on the mentality of now how a man is going to act, how he's going to perceive all women now. He's going to be nervous, worried. The next relationship that he gets into, is she going to do the same? Because the behavior is systematic. Young women are not thinking it as an individual, independently, in conjunction with their surroundings. And by that I mean, why are you copying the lady down the road who actually is being abused, is in a very, very, very violent environment, a very unhealthy environment, and needs to get out? Why are you saying that and acting like that when that's not happening with you? You need to look at your individual circumstances and decide properly. Make a conformed decision based on what's actually happening in your life, instead of all this, oh yeah, I'm going to get back at him now. Wrong. You cannot do that, but people do, and this is why we have this situation that we're in. Because we have some mothers allowing bad dads to come in and out, confuse all things up. What we need is these women to stop doing that, and the men that are good and do want to just be in their child's life, you've got to allow them in. You've got to allow them in. You mustn't deny your child, especially as we're talking daughters here, so your daughter, you mustn't deny her that independent relationship with her father. He's going to want to instill things for her. Okay, he wasn't doing it for you because you're an adult, but for his daughter, he's going to want to be there for her, and he's going to want to advise her the best he can, protect her the best he can, guide her the best he can. And you mustn't get in the way of that, because that's the beginning of relationships, or at least behaviours, beginning to get better in relationships when they break up. You know, if we just stop being spiteful and acting on emotions, and again, the importance of a father being in the home, in a relationship, is because there's times when you need to compartmentalize that, so the emotions don't get in the way, so we can have some clarity and we can have a clear process of what's going on. This allows the man to understand, hey, she's actually cool. I've got faith here now, where it matters. Our relationship didn't work out, but look how she can see for what it is, which is, I'm a good dad. I have not messed up. I have not let them down. I do everything that I'm needed to. My heart and my loyalty is always still there, no matter whether we have another relationship or marriages. We know we are always going to be devoted to our children. Well, those kids who are lucky enough to have parents that are devoted to their children, but that's another story. But we have to take some accountability, ladies, that you mustn't mix the two, because at the end of the day, that really is a starting ground for men and women being able to believe in each other again. When you can believe, you can start to trust that we know that, look, despite what's happened, we know what needs to be done, and we're going to keep that out of it. That's what adults should be doing and need to hear from one another. And then you won't keep having this display of repetitive behavior, of the same combative, not going nowhere. It's just going to go round in circles to the point where the kid's going to have nothing. It's not going to know anything apart from, it's a mess. It's all muddled up. I don't understand my parents. 1 minute it's this, and 1 minute they're shouting, and then dad's not really here as much, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just all giggledy-goo. They can't make sense of anything. They can't see a flow, a pattern, to make any comparisons with. That's when they start to look outside And the last thing you want to risk is your kids being brought up by society. That's why it's important for you to have a family ethos, family morals, family values, right? A connection between you where you don't love each other, you're in love with each other, protecting that which is your most prized possession. Trust. Being able to trust each other, knowing that yes, we were diabolical as a couple, but hey, look how we raise our children, because you can go into a different mindset and a whole different kind of behavior when it comes to that. An example would be, you might mess around and do certain things at home, like, get naked and do all sorts of things like that. But when you go out, you're not going to do that. There's a certain basic behavior of socialism that you've got to be when you're out with people, because we don't want to offend, or, you just want to be decent. So we have a certain way that we are when we're out in public. It's like that. There's a certain way you might, as adults, talk to one another, but when you're dealing with children, you want better for them, don't you? So we don't want them to repeat our cycles, do we? We don't. And even if it was good, you want it to be better, and they're going to want better. Hence why we evolve into a better species where we are more emotionally astute. We have emotional intelligence. And by that I mean is we know what emotions to do and what to act at certain times. And so it's very important that as women, we recognize our negative role in the absence of a man being in the family home. Because obviously we have men that don't want to be there, they've chosen that. Or we have that the woman is pushing him away for whatever reasons, she's not happy. They're all very negative, but they're so common because it's just indoctrinated into you that that's how you should behave when that happens. It's not. We have young girls today in all sorts of precarious positions because they simply don't know how to value themselves. And it's the father that completes that value. I tell you now, they are so vital. Each parent, mother and father, both have unique qualities for a reason. And then you want to improve on those qualities. And the way to do that is the more we connect, is the more we can be a better version of our representation. I am a woman, he is a man. The strength of a man. If you're an honest woman, if you're a true woman, you will say that is deeply missed. Because, if your house gets burgled or, God forbid, anything towards would happen, you don't have him to look to. That's dangerous for women. That's dangerous because a man will think twice before he walks into your environment. If he knows that there's a man on scene, he ain't gonna mess with that because a man's got the same strength as him. Hence why, again, you can't get away from this, men can be as strong as women. Why would you even want it? What purpose does that serve? Because when you're busy trying to be as strong as him, you're losing something as your unique self as a woman. That's a no-go. That's a no-go. You should miss the man. You should miss his strength. He has a different kind of strength for a reason, because he is the protector. So is a woman. But it's in conjunction. So if the man's there, we naturally look to the man. But when he's not there, we look to ourselves. But we don't look to ourselves when a man's there. It's, oh darling, oh baby. And you don't even have to ask. He's all over it. It's all right, darling. I'm here. I'm the protector. And they love that. When you deny a man that makes it worse. Because when you deny a man that, he will be absent because he doesn't think that he's needed there. It's so indoctrinated and believed into him that he doesn't really have, the mother can do it all by herself. She can do all the essentials. You're not really being missed. Wrong. I think this comes from because the woman has the pregnancy. All of the attention is on the woman. She does all the carrying. And in your subconscious, you probably don't realise, but you're leading yourselves to believe that he doesn't really have a big part to play in it. But he does. A lot of the man's work comes when the child is here. Now, protection mode comes in. If you thought he wasn't a protector before, he is even more a protector. If it's a good man, a true man, wow. A woman can be in her submissive state because she fully knows he doesn't take his strength and use it to abuse you. He doesn't abuse that power. He uses that to save you, to protect you and the children and himself. But what's beautiful about a man is that he will put himself on the line first. There is no doubt about that. And it's a very male trait for a reason, because he actually has the strength to back that up. A woman can do all she can when the man's not there, and she'll fight. A lioness, don't get it twisted. However, if you watch the lions, when it gets too much, or they see the male lion coming in, the women retreat. They're like, yeah, he's got it. Right? Don't mess. Do not mess. That kind of protection there is paramount. I wished I'd have had that. I wished I'd have had a father that loved me enough to want to protect me from all of those vultures hiding in dark places, waiting for vulnerable young girls who they know have had absent fathers. They might not know the reasons in which why, but they can sometimes detect from the way you are as a female as to whether you had some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure to, a bit of a bad person in general, a bad man, a bad father. Then she's definitely not going to be a girl that values herself. And those low vibrational men who, again, have not had role models, they are, sadly, the very people we're trying to avoid. The very reason why you need a father. So see how it goes round in a circle? See how it's all connected? You cannot get away from it. Because, again, it's adults. Our impact on the children will decide whether they go out to do better or to stay as you were, or even worse, surpass you, go even lower. Wow, that is so bad. And then what happens is that people will complain. Why is it like this? Well, it didn't just happen. It's us. It's us. But if you're not a self-aware human being, you just don't connect the dots at all. You don't connect the threads. You don't connect the behavior to the circumstances, or the circumstances to the behavior. So we're just walking around all airheady like we don't know how this happened. Well, it didn't just fall on you. So what you have to do is you have to self-reflect. You have to ask yourself, why? Why do I allow subconscious behaviors to just take control? Why didn't I use my discernment? Why didn't I judge the situation as an isolated individual situation that only concerns myself, not what everybody else is doing out there? Because that's what some people will do. They copycat. And that's not the answer for your family. You should have done it that way. You'd have come out better. Something that was actually savable, you lost because you copied the narrative of, oh, well, if that happens, I'm supposed to do this. No. If you know the relationship's worth fighting for, if you know that man is worth giving that second chance to, then that is what you should be doing. Trust yourself and your judgment. Stop looking to others. They don't have your best interests at heart, especially society, right? It doesn't care about the outcome for you. This is a choice or a decision that's going to impact you for the rest of your life, possibly a good few decades. So you have to be very, very, very careful about what you do. Do not do what's best for others and then act like that's what you're doing is best for you. It's not. It's maybe because you're a bit afraid, because if you make your own decision, you can't blame anybody else. You can't blame society, you can't blame the government. And that's why sometimes maybe people don't choose what they know they should truly choose inside, because they're scared of the outcome. But don't be, sweetheart. There's always going to be an outcome to your actions. But if you act properly and accordingly, you won't get a bad outcome. And even if it's not the outcome, sometimes people think a bad outcome is because it wasn't what they wanted. That doesn't mean it's a bad outcome, right? It doesn't. So it's the way we are as adults that really truly affects how we're going to be with our children and what they're going to get. So we have to just be very mindful. Now, what we'll do for the next one is we're going to look at fathers who are absent from their sons' lives. Okay? And all I can say really is try to look internally. Trust yourself more. Read the situation for its trueness and its reality. Your reality. Not anybody else's, yours. Because remember, whatever you're choosing, you will have to live with for the rest of your life. Okay? And most of the time, it's our choices that haunt us, our thoughts. So it's important that you take time to make the right choice. And on that note, my darlings, I hope you found this video enlightening, and have a wonderful week, and as always, ciao love.